Hey there, if you've been with me for the past 2 weeks, welcome back. If you're just joining us, go back and listen to episode 92 and 93 first, because what we covered there is the foundation for everything we're going to cover today. We talked about trust. We talked about walking out on water. We talked about what it looks like to stop filtering God's answer to your prayers through your own picture of what love is supposed to look like and start making room for what He actually has for you. And my hope is that after listening to those 2 episodes, that maybe something shifted in you. I'm hoping that you listened to those episodes and you walked away saying, you know what? I'm ready. It's time. It's my time to start working on myself, to start doing this. That's my hope. But I also have to be realistic here, because if you're new to this particular faith walk, if this ain't the first time you've prayed for that relationship, that partnership, that love that He's promised, only to wind up in a situationship with someone who wasn't quite ready for the type of love you were expecting, then inevitably feelings of doubt start to creep in. You're starting to think, yes, I'm ready to do this, but where am I going to start? What do I pick up first? What if I can't make all the changes? Or if I do make the changes, but fall back into my old patterns, what then? Is this even in the cards for me? Am I actually capable of this? Girl, take a breath, slow down, woo-sa. You keep having those thoughts, those pessimistic doubts whispering in the back of your head, telling you that you're not ready, or it's going to be way too hard, or way too much work, or because you've tried this before and it didn't work, that this time will be no different. That voice is not a sign that you're not ready, sis. Newsflash, that's just what starting sounds like. But when you actually take that first step, you realize that it's way easier than you ever could have imagined. Today, we're talking about what's on the other side of that self-doubt and the woman you become when you take that first step anyway. Let's go. Hi, I'm Dr. Tiff, your relationship transformation coach. I've spent the past 20 years working with high-achieving women just like you who are crushing it in every area of their lives, everywhere except their relationships. And look, I get it. Finding the one ain't easy, and relationships are hard, but you know what's even harder? Cycling through the bad ones, or worse, staying in relationships when you already know they're not a good fit. You want a relationship of ease, uncomplicated, someone to love you down, but instead you've been suffering through bad dates, sexual incompatibility, and someone who might be good for somebody, but not for you. And if we're really being honest, you know that deep down, the work that really needs to be done starts and ends with you. If you're done wasting time in dead-end relationships and sick of looking for, chasing after, or trying to convince somebody to be the one, and you're ready to become the one, then baby, you're in the right place. So prop your feet and let's clink glasses, because I'm giving you the tea and the tips to fix your relationships. Let's go. Welcome back to Fix Your Relationships. I'm your host, Dr. Tiff. I am so grateful to you for tuning in. So happy to be here for you. I want to start right where you are today, especially if you've already been rocking with me for the past 2 weeks and listened to those 2 episodes. Again, if you haven't done so, please go back and listen to episodes 92 and 93, then come back to this one so that it all synthesizes together, so that it all makes sense. Either way, I know that some of you have been listening to this podcast for a while. You've been diving into self-help books and articles and blogs about relationships here and there. You've been thinking about therapy, or maybe you're already in it. Y'all are doing a little bit of everything. Y'all taste testing, and that's great. But I know that some of you are still not quite sure if any of it counts as you working, quote unquote, working on yourself or your relationships, or even if you're doing it right. Literally, if someone were to ask you, are you doing the work, sis? Honestly, what would you say? Because I know that you're trying, but I also know that you can't quite see where this thing is going. You know where you want it to go. You don't know where it's actually going, and you certainly don't have a formal plan of knowing how to get to where it is you want to go. Let me reassure you, sis, you are exactly where you need to be, and this is the perfect place for you to start. The fact that you're here, that you came back after 2 episodes about trust and about stepping out on faith, that is you showing up for yourself when ignoring the stuff that you know you need to work on would be so much easier. And I want you to know it is not the lack of desire that keeps most women from starting this work. It's the overwhelm, the fear that they won't be able to follow through, the memory of the last time they tried it and slid right back into the same pattern, the thought of everything that would have to change. And do I even have what it takes to see this thing through? If that's where you are, I need you to stay with me because today we're going to answer all of that. But let me be clear, showing up is just the beginning. It's not the destination. And I think some of you are stuck in the showing up, consuming the content, sitting in the awareness that something needs to change, collecting the insights, without ever taking the step that moves you from knowing to actually becoming the woman God created you to be. Some of you haven't started because you're waiting until you're ready. And for a lot of you, readiness means a very specific picture in your head. Ready is when the kids are a little bit older, when things calm down at work, when you finally get into that next relationship and have a real reason to do the work. That's when you're going to be ready. Maybe it's when life slows down enough that you actually have time for yourself, when you feel mentally prepared enough to open up and deal with what's inside. If you're waiting on that version of ready, you are going to be waiting forever. Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, not because you don't want it bad enough, but because the version of ready you're waiting for does not exist. It was never going to show up and tap you on the shoulder and say, sis, come on now. It's time. You have all the information. You processed through every detail. Now you can embark on the journey that changes everything. I am telling you this because I know this personally. I am a self-proclaimed master procrastinator. I do it so well. I can put off what I need to do like nobody's business. And for a long time, I thought procrastination was about time. I just needed more of it. Like if I had more time, I'd be able to do it. Or that it was discipline. I just need to buckle down. If I buckle down more and just stop being lazy or stop, letting myself get distracted and get it together, I could do it. But the more honest I got with myself, the more I realized my procrastination has almost nothing to do with any of that. What actually keeps me stuck, and I think it probably keeps you stuck too, is perfectionism. Somewhere in me, in you and in me, okay, is a belief that if I'm going to do something, I need to do it right, all the way, full out. Best version, first time. And if I can't guarantee that outcome going in, if there's any chance I might do it imperfectly or incompletely, my brain would rather not start at all because not starting feels safer than starting and not hitting the mark. It feels safer than failing, actually. And I think a lot of you are living in that exact same space. You look at the work ahead, the patterns you know you need to unpack, the wounds you have to face, the lies you've been telling yourself for years. And it feels like, you know what it feels like? It feels like that junk drawer. It feels like the junk drawer that we all have. Mine is in my kitchen. I would imagine yours is in your kitchen too. Maybe it's in the bathroom. Maybe it's in the garage. I don't know. But I feel like every house worth its salt has that junk drawer where everything is in. And you know that it needs to be cleaned out. You can feel the weight of it every time you open that drawer. When you're looking for something, you open it and you're just like, ugh, there's so much crap in here. There's so many things that need to go in certain places. So many things that I need to clean out and do something with. So you feel the weight of what needs to be done every time you open that drawer trying to find what you're looking for. But every time you reach for the handle and pull, you think, you know what, where do I even begin? What if I pull everything out and I don't have a place to actually put it? What if I do all of this and it's still a mess? If we're really being honest, I don't feel like cleaning out the drawer right now. So you close the drawer again. And you don't look at it until the next time you need something that you know is in that drawer and you go in and this cycle starts all over again. And you tell yourself you'll start when things calm down, when you have more time, when you know where all the bits and bobs and doodads are going to go, when you're ready to really tackle it. Many of us are stuck in this exact same place when it comes to getting started on our self-work, all the inner work that we've been putting off. But here's what I need you to know about the woman on the other side of this actual work. The woman who's already done what you're putting off. She didn't wait for the perfect time or the right circumstances. She didn't hold out until everything aligned and she felt completely sure. She just started. And because she never walked in assuming perfection, because she understood from day one that the work is continuous and she would never have to be perfect to begin, she kept going. She's not a finished product. That lady on the other side, that girl, your sis, you, okay? Not a finished product. She never was. She understands that she never will be. She's not perfect. She did not arrive at some flawless, fully healed, got it all together version of herself before she started. She just started imperfectly. And she might have even done it inconsistently at first, if that's what you're worried about. With more questions and answers and more uncertainty than confidence, she started. The difference between her and where you are right now is not that she was more ready, it's that she stopped waiting for perfect and took the next available step. And that step, that first imperfect, courageous step, is what changes everything. When we overthink the work, we make it so big in our heads that we can't find a way in. We imagine that doing the work means years of intensive therapy, a complete overhaul of every pattern that we've ever had, a total transformation before we're allowed to call ourselves healed or done or finished or ready. Before we can get into that next relationship, before we can start expecting God to fulfill his promise over our love life. And because that feels so impossible, we don't start. We stand in front of the junk drawer, and instead of yanking it open and tackling it, we pour ourselves another glass of wine and just keep walking past it. But what if the first step, what if it was so simple it almost felt like cheating? What if it was just as simple as writing it down? Just writing it down. What is true for me in the moment right now, on paper, in your own words? Messy, if it needs to be, incomplete, if that's all you have for the day. I say this because some of you are in your heads constantly. I know this because I have been there. You're processing everything, you're analyzing everything, you're replaying conversation, you're reworking what you're going to text back. You have had the same conversation with yourself 100 times. You know there's stuff you need to work on. You realize that something is off in your relationships. You felt it deep down in your spirit, but it's never made it out of your head and onto the page where you can look at it and work with it. The problem is not that you don't know what needs to be done. The problem is that it's all still up in your head, swirling around. And what swirls around in your brain tends to stay stuck there. The process of writing slows this all down for you. Writing is what makes it real. Writing takes what's been living as noise in your brain and gives it somewhere to land, somewhere you can actually look at it, name it, and decide what to do with it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. In fact, it can't be perfect, because the moment you give yourself permission to write imperfectly, to let it just get out raw, honest, unpolished, something actually shifts. You'll see it. The thing that felt too big to touch suddenly becomes something that you can actually see. Suddenly it's not a storm anymore. It's just words on a page. I mean, why do y'all think I had y'all start writing every week? There's a reason we have 3 journal questions every single week. It's because words on a page you can work with. You can't own it if the only place it lives is in your head. You can still deny it there. You can pretend it doesn't exist. You can minimize its impact on your life. You don't have to admit that this thing, this pattern, this imperfection is what's actually holding you back. But sis, embracing the imperfection is not giving in. Writing it down is not me trying to give you yet another thing to feel guilty about. Writing it down and owning it is actually removing the roadblock that's been keeping you from starting. It's the actual first step. I've been tricking y'all into doing it for months. It's you having the courage to say, I don't need to get this right. I just need to get it out. That's why I want you to write every week. Writing is the first act of ownership. And it starts with something you've been doing since the 2nd grade. Now, Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain on tablets so he may run who reads it. Y'all have heard that so many times. Write the vision, make it plain. Write it down, make it plain. This is not just practical advice. This is a command. God told the prophet, what I'm showing you, the vision I've placed in you, write that thing down. Make it so clear enough that somebody could just pick this thing up and run with it. They could go and do it. And here is what that means for you. The woman you're becoming, the one on the other side of this work, she's not a fantasy. She's a vision. A vision God placed in you before you even had the language for what you were longing for. But a vision that stays in your head is just a dream. A vision that gets written down becomes a destination. This is where ownership begins. Not in the acknowledging, not in the nodding along to this podcast, not even in the moment you finally name the pattern. It begins when you put it on paper, when you write it out. Because when it stays in your head, you can manage it, you can manipulate it, you can minimize it, you can talk yourself out of it when doubt starts to creep back in. But when it's on paper, when it's plain, it has weight, it has shape, it becomes something you can actually deal with. And here's a promise that holds all of this together. Philippians 1:6 says, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. He who began it will complete it, not might complete it, not will complete it if you're consistent enough or healed enough or ready enough, will complete it. Full stop. The self-work that's ahead of you and all that you've been doing, every hard choice, every time you showed up when you could have tuned out, every prayer you prayed when you weren't even sure anybody was listening. God sees all of it. That feeling you got, the nudge after listening to episodes 92 and 93, that was him lighting a fire in you, telling you to go. It's time. And he does not abandon what he begins. He's telling you that if you do the work, the ending is inevitable. Not because he's strong enough to hold it all together, sis, but because he's faithful enough to finish what he started. Hey babes, taking a quick break to talk to you about the One Within 30-Day Reset, my one-of-a-kind guided journaling experience. If you are someone who is determined to improve your relationships in 2026, but also want to make sure that you don't neglect yourself in the process, I'd love to see you inside this program. I designed the One Within 30-Day Reset for women just like you, strong, hyper-independent, crushing it at work, living your dreams. But if we're really being honest, things are a little lacking in the love department. You know that there's probably some self-work that you need to do. Maybe you've been putting it off because you're not quite sure where to start. Well, that's where the One Within steps in. If you can spare just 5 to 10 minutes a day, I'll help you identify the patterns and triggers holding you back in your relationships, help you to set better boundaries and end the cycles of self-sabotage and missed red flags. I'll help you embrace the personal growth strategies necessary to stop making the same mistakes over and over again and to start calling in that love we both know you deserve. And remember, this is a guided experience. I'm not just handing out blank sheets of paper and telling you to scribble your hopes and dreams. Each day, I'm providing you with thought-provoking prompts designed to really tap into what's kept you feeling stuck in your relationships. In addition, you're going to get daily video messages from me, get full access to our private community, group coaching calls, bonuses, and so much more. If you're ready to sign up or just need more information, head on over to drtiffanyhenry.com/theonewithin. Now back to the show. Now, after I have done all of that preaching and prodding and advocating for writing, y'all know what time it is. Journals out, babes. Go ahead and get your pen and your paper. We're doing this work together. You know why we're doing it, because it needs to be on paper for you to see it and for you to work with it and actually start doing something about it. If you are about this business, if you are about the inner work, if you want to get started on the inner work and don't know where to start, right now is the place and the time. And let me walk it out with you in our writings today. So go ahead and get your pen and paper out. Babes, if you are driving, please either pull over so you can do this work right now if you can, or come back to it later, okay? These are worth your full presence and your full attention, and I don't want anybody getting into an accident because they was writing these journal questions out. All right, question number 1, what is the thing you've been keeping in your head that needs to go on paper today? Not something that's polished and you figured it out, you know exactly how you want to say it, it's pristine. I want you to think about the thing that's in your head that you know you need to work on, that's maybe an admission of self. Maybe it's an admission of guilt. Maybe it's an admission of something that you've been carrying with you for some time. The real thing, that thing that feels too big and too messy and too honest to write down. Write it anyway. Write it down. This is between you and you, as it is every week. Write that thing down. All right? Question number 2, where has perfectionism been keeping you from starting on this thing? Be specific. What is the area in your life or your healing where you've been waiting to feel ready for things to be perfectly aligned before you get started? And what would it look like to take one imperfect step into it this week? Just one step. How would that feel? What would it look like? What feelings are coming up for you if you were to just take one little step on this week? And question number 3, If you wrote the version of the woman you are becoming, not who you think you should be, the one God placed inside of you, the one you know He wants you to be and He's built you to be, what would she look like? What does she believe about herself? Write it down. Write it all down. Because you are her. So write down that version of you that you know God wants you to be, that He's created you to be, that He believes you to be. Make her plain in your mind and plain on that paper, because she is the destination. And here's your one small shift for the week. We do this every week where I give you one little task to do. It doesn't have to be big and grand. It's usually something very small, but it's something that can shift you from being not ready to ready, from overthinking into action. Okay? So this is your small shift for the week. Write something down that you've only been keeping in your head, something you know you need to finally confront, something you know you need to admit to yourself, something you know you need to work on. Just one thing that's been rolling around in your brain that you know you need to get down on paper, not the perfect thought, not a perfectly polished sentence. It could be one or two words, okay? This doesn't have to be ready for anyone else to see. Just out of your head and onto the paper where you can finally look at it clearly. Because what lives only in your mind, you can continue to deny. You can continue to minimize it. You can talk yourself out of it when it starts to get hard. But when it's written, when it's plain, that has power. That has permanence. That is the beginning of something real, and it's the beginning of what changes everything. That's why I have y'all doing these journal questions each week. And that's exactly why the One Within 30-Day Reset is built the way that it is. The One Within 30-Day Reset, if you guys have not checked it out, I do urge you to go to drtiffanyhenry.com/theonewithin and check it out. It's spelled out very plainly there exactly what the course is about, how it's outlined, what you're going to get, all of the stuff. It is not your typical course where you log in a few times to watch a few videos and say that you completed it. Okay? It's not a mastermind where we're going to meet up every week and talk about where you are. This is a guided journaling experience, much like what we're doing here for free every week on this podcast. Okay? It's a guided experience. I'm giving you the prompts in paper and also in video form. You're getting video messages from me each day for 30 days, 30 videos your girl recorded just for you to walk you through this program so you don't have to do it by yourself. Because I know that's a hesitation too. I don't want to do this alone. Girl, I'm with you. The One Within 30-Day Reset is a guided journaling experience because writing it down is not just the first step. It's strategy. It's the thing that actually moves what's in your head onto a page where you can own it, where you can work with it and do something about it. This experience built around the one framework, owning, nurturing, evolving. And it begins exactly where Habakkuk 2:2 begins, with writing it down. Every day, 30 days, I walk you through owning your full story, looking at it clearly, making it plain so you can actually do something about it. This is not a program about feeling better. This is a program about evolving into something different. And it starts with a pen and 30 days of honest inner work. The link for the program is in the show notes, drtiffanyhenry.com/theonewithin. Take the first step with me, and I'd love to support you the rest of the journey. Now, let me leave you with this. Sis, you have been in front of that junk drawer long enough, not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because somewhere along the way you decided that the only acceptable version of starting was the perfect one. And perfect never showed up. So neither did you. But I need you to hear something. God did not place that vision in you so it could stay in your head forever. He did not give you that longing, that specific ache that something better is right around the corner, that understanding there's more for you, just to watch it collect dust in the corner of your mind. He said, write it down, not when you're ready, not when it's perfect, not when all the stars are aligned and everything is figured out. He said, write it down now, because the woman on the other side of this work is not waiting to be perfect. She is not impressed by how long it took her to start or how much research she put into it before she could begin. She became who she is because one day, one ordinary, imperfect, I'm not sure I can do this type of day, she picked up a pen and she began. That day can be today for you, sis. The vision is already in you. God placed it in your heart. He put it there. Your job is not to manufacture it. Just write it down and trust God, because he already knows how this story ends for you. He who began a good work in you will complete it. And if you do the work, the ending is inevitable. It is already done. He said so. If you do the work, it will happen. So pick up your pen, babes, write it down and make it plain. It's time to run with what he's already put inside you. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. And I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me and listening to Fix Your Relationships podcast. I'll see you back here next week. Ciao. Hey, babe, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. My goal with this podcast is to bless you with information that helps you fix those relationships that are most important to you, but not before you do the self-work needed to make sure that those relationships thrive. If this episode was exactly what you needed, then guess what? Somebody else probably needs it too. So do me and them a favor. Please share this episode with your good girlfriend and let her know about the podcast. And while you're at it, hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. This really helps to grow the podcast and puts it right in front of other women who are desperate to work on their relationships and themselves. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to join our community of like-minded women all on a journey to become the one. You can sign up for free at becometheone.myflowdesk.com/email. I know that's a lot, so just go on over to the show notes and click that link there. Thanks again for listening to Fix Your Relationships with Dr. Tiff. I'll see you right back here next week.